We're going to be looking at some geometric sequences. So I have one on the board here. So we have from 1 to 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, and 64. Okay, which we can see is going up by a scale of 2. Now we're going to be looking at some geometric sequences and pinpointing some specific features that we need to know. So for example, one of them is knowing the first term. So knowing the first term is very easy. We just look at the start of the sequence and we can see, oh, the first term is 1. Another important feature is the common ratio. So the ratio in which each of my numbers go up the sequence, we can see the common ratio is 2. Okay, so we're going to focus on finding the first term and the common ratio of a geometric sequence. Okay, so finding these two things isn't too difficult, but it's very important for us for later on. For example, when finding the sum of a geometric sequence, then these two come in really handy. Okay, so let's take a look at some geometric sequences. So looking at the first one, okay, if we find just the first term, that is the easiest thing. So we'll just look at the start of the sequence and we can see, oh, the first term is 3. Now in the next one, we're going to try and find the common ratio. Okay, so common ratio, one thing we can do is just look at the numbers and see how they're going up, or we can also just test it and do a number and then divide it by the one before it. Okay, so for example, 6 divided by 3 is 2. And we can see, yeah, it's going up by 2s. Okay, so that's the common ratio and also the first term. So it's not too difficult. Now looking at the next one, okay, so we can see, again, the start of the sequence is 1. So that's the easiest thing. So finding the first term is just 1. Now finding the common ratio, so what is the scale in which they all go up the sequence? Well, let's just test some numbers. So the second one divided by the first one will be 4. Okay, likewise, if I just do 16 divided by 4, that'll also give me 4. So common ratio for this one is just 4. Now if we take a look at the next one, okay, we have some alternating numbers between negative and positives. So let's start off with the first term. So the first term of the sequence is obviously going to be 2. And finding the common ratio. So like I said, we could just look at the numbers and see how each number goes up by, which scale it goes up by, or I can just take the second number and divide it by the first. Okay, so negative 6 divided by 2 will give me a common ratio of negative 3. Okay, so we can see if I multiply each term by negative 3, it's going to keep going down the sequence. Now looking at this one, now in this question, all my numbers are going down, okay, which means my ratio is going to be less than 1. Okay, so it keeps going down each sequence. So finding the first term of this sequence, okay, that's easy. Finding the first one is 125. And finally, to find the common ratio, let's try and do the same thing. I'm going to take this one and divide it by the one before it. So 100 divided by 125, if we calculate it, we get a common ratio of 0.8. Okay, so that's how we find the first term and the common ratios of a geometric sequence.